videos, and if they're fake, they're really good fakes.
Bigfoot videos. Oh, I think
Bigfoot
you sent me
videos.
one. I think you sent me one. Yeah, I think you sent me
Dude,
one.
there's this
I
Johnny.
see. I don't know. My thought on those things is I just don't want to be trolled so hard when I think
So
like
hard.
it's like
real,
so
and it's not.
possible that you want it to be real so badly, but that's exactly what the person that made the video is expecting, and
Yeah, they want the views.
They want the views. They want all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, this guy. Let me send you the channel. Send it to our Discord, right? So what did I send? Is it this one? This is the scary one. Something peculiar. Oh, this is the UFO one. Did you see the UFO one I sent you?
No, dude, I've had this cough for like 3 weeks or something. This cough is really getting freaking annoying. I don't know.
Oh God.
It's probably that virus X, right? That's like on the uprising. I think it's another virus. I don't know exactly where it originated from, but it seems like
the one that you have.
No, I think there's. Oh, I don't know what I have. I don't care. I don't even get tested anymore, dude. I don't do any of that stuff.
No.
I don't do any of that crap. Everyone's like, "Oh, go get a test," and I'm just like, "Yo, dude, go put your mask on. Go somewhere else."
Yeah.
go somewhere else.
Seriously. This that virus X stuff. I heard that people just start. I can't remember who like coined that virus X.
Yeah, but why is everything X? Have you noticed that? Like everything's X, dude. Everything's X. It's like the devil leaves his little shit stain mark everywhere.
So what do you think X is? What do you think that's related to? Do you think that's related to something?
It could be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly, but it seems like there's a trail that you can kind of track like the symbolism to where like a lot of the main shit is like all connected, like you got Elon Musk, who's basically like over NASA at this point. Like NASA's subordinate to him, I feel like.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
Like it's been that way ever since he opened that company up. I feel like they've been, because NASA supposedly they went bankrupt or something like that, and they just kind of fucking fell off the map. And then SpaceX came in and just took over.
It's just I can't. My thoughts on NASA is just they're not the same as like when I grew up anymore, because like when you start to like track back the history of what NASA is and who was involved in it, I just can't I think those people were con men, and I think that they had an agenda, and it's weird that like now it's one of the biggest, if not it's the biggest, I don't know, government project in the entire world. NASA's like the biggest government project. Like they have the biggest budget. They've got, they're in charge of like, I don't know, other space projects that are going on in other countries. I mean, I know like China and other bigger countries that have their own space programs, but NASA runs the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I feel like SpaceX though is taking over that role though.
Oh, absolutely. Well, my curiosity is like, why is I know Elon Musk is putting all these satellites into the sky, but for, wireless internet. But my thing is like, what is the end goal for that? Like, what is, I guess its true purpose?
Skynet.
Yeah. So it's weird, I mean, it is Skynet.
Terminator.
Like people can't,
Terminator.
I don't know why people can't see, oh shit. Yeah. Like that's kind of like what's being worked on or built right now. Oh, and then all of a sudden, like we have AI that kind of just pops up out of nowhere. Very similar to like an mRNA vaccine. Like they're like, oh, look at this. It's just new it's like new discoveries, but like these things have been worked on for a long time. I'm just using that as an example, but
right. No, it's I mean, going like this is like beating a dead horse right here. But I mean, going back to the Jack Parsons stuff, look at all the people that founded NASA and like where they came from, and there were Nazis and the occultism behind it, and obviously there's an agenda behind that, and it's probably it's just playing the Risk game, right? It's a part of the Risk board game where you got all these superpowers trying to develop superpower, just trying to keep their power, trying to develop these programs which are going to allow them to.
Isn't it crazy though that like everything has some sort of influence by Satanism? Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, it is.
When you
crazy.
really start to like dig deep down the rabbit hole, You
Right.
know, this
And
is
it's
not
not
this is
just
not being a theorist. This is like fact.
it's not just one
It's like-
kind of Satanism too. Like there's all type of occultists that are actually some don't even like each other. Like you got Luciferians, you got Malachians, you got
right,
like all
right,
sorts
right.
of different cults that all tie to whether it's pedophilia or whether it's sacrificial stuff or both. Like there's
Mhm.
some of these cults, like they're evil in one way
Yeah.
or another, you know.
Wasn't it kind
And
of
it is
wasn't it crazy
type.
that in New York they were just they came across tunnels that were built underneath the Jewish temples up there. I don't
Yeah, what
know
do you think
if it
about
was.
that?
I don't
Yeah.
know if the whole thing was like as big as it was propagated to be, but I mean, there were tunnels. They were building tunnels down there. I
Yeah.
don't know what they're doing down there. I don't know, but they're
Yeah.
going underground.
They look like crappy little tunnels that was built by an Orthodox Jewish guy. Like it doesn't look like, the people, those nerdy little Jewish dudes that were digging the tunnels. They didn't look like they were dug very well. They didn't look safe.
No,
It's
no,
probably a
no.
good idea to go, close that all back up. And
Yeah,
I think I get this. I don't know if there's any dastardly deeds behind all that. There might be. I don't see it as relevant in the. I saw some of the videos and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
they didn't look like they were very big tunnels. And if they started building it during COVID, that would make sense. It's been 4 years. So it's like, okay, it took them 4 years to dig a few, 1,000 square feet or 100 square feet of tunnels,
That's what
whatever.
I'm saying. Yeah, I don't even know if it was like as big because they made you see all this clickbait and stuff on the internet, and it's
Uh-huh.
like they're making you think like there's this tunnel system. It's probably not even like a tunnel system. It's probably just like, hey, well, we're just gonna build a vessel or compartment under the ground for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would
Well,
like
I
to know the
think
story.
it's
How come they never said what was down there? That's kind of interesting
well, I
because the
think it makes
Jews
sense
the
with the
Jews do run most of the media.
Yeah, but I think it makes sense that it's a COVID thing because New York was so strict with their laws, like you can't congregate in churches anymore. So it would make sense that they were to dig underground and go, hey, let's dig under our church and let's tie it to our residence and our residence where we live. And
Hmm.
that way we can go to church and meet up to do our church stuff. I don't think there was any nefarious stuff.
No,
That's
no,
my
yeah, I
intuition.
don't
I
think so
really don't
either.
think so.
I don't think
And I
so
don't
either.
think I don't think that community was the type of Jewish community that runs the media. I think they're more like I think that Jewish community owns more
Yeah.
jewelry shops
Now
than
there
anything.
was like footage of people in the synagogue or whatever it was that they were getting in an altercation with police officers and like it got kind
Yeah.
of violent. I mean, they were passionate about what their underground system
Well, yeah,
was or whatever it is they were doing.
because they were upset during COVID. They tried to stop everybody from meeting up, and they're like,
Hmm.
"Fuck you! I'm gonna build this underground and break the law because you're gonna try to arrest me and shut my church down if you don't." And of course they're gonna think because
Right, right, right,
they
right.
probably think it's gonna happen again,
I think
and
I think
it
they
was too
filled it.
janky to be a good operation. It
Yeah,
was
I
too
think they
janky.
filled them in or something. I don't know because I don't think you can build. I don't think it's safe because with all
No,
the weight that is on top.
hell
So.
no. Especially how old those buildings are, where they're digging under all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, dude.
It's
Yeah,
dude,
dude.
they're all gonna die, and it's gonna collapse. The building's gonna collapse on top of them. It's not
Yeah,
safe.
yeah, yeah. That's not safe.
Joe
That's not
Rogan had
safe.
this thing. I was cracking up. Joe Rogan talks about this guy on Twitter like a year ago or 2 years ago that posted on Twitter and said, "I hear Jews beneath me." That's all he posted, and
That's right.
he's
That's
in his
right.
apartment building like during COVID. Like, why do I hear like these Hasidic Jews
I Yeah, this was
beneath
on
me?
this was on X app, right, or something, or Twitter,
Twitter,
whatever.
X,
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever it's
Yeah,
called. But
before it was X.
what did you think of the Super Bowl? Who were you rooting for? Did you watch the Super Bowl?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
going for the 49ers all
Me
day,
too.
but
Me too.
kind of
I
had
just
that
don't know
feeling it was
why.
fixed.
I don't know why. Yeah, right. I don't know why I hate Travis Kelce so much. I don't know why I'm not a
Oh,
fan. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
he's
I,
I like his brother a little bit more. His
his
brother
brother,
seems like
yeah. I just, man,
he's a
dude.
doofus as well, though.
He's
Sorry,
just
he
such
is.
a puppet for like the political gain and all that other stuff. But he did get like $20 million for that Pfizer commercial. He got $20 million. That's what
Yeah,
I heard. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay.
no
I mean,
doubt. And he's also going to be held. You know, he's responsible for influencing people to get the shot when they don't need the shot, or they're going to get hurt
that's why it's
by the
so
vaccine.
shitty. You know, like that's why it's shitty. But what
He's
do
a
you?
dickhead. He's a
What's
dickhead. He's a puppet. He is not a good person. There's no way he's a good person. He doesn't act like a good person. I don't
Yeah,
care what
you kind
anybody
of
says. He's
saw it in the
funny. He's this.
game.
He's that.
You saw it in the game when
Yeah.
he bumped
You see it
his.
on
I
his
think
coach
he
face.
even he was kind of shoved his coach a little bit. He was aggressive. He was, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like fighting words,
Screaming in his
in
coach's
a way.
face.
Screaming in his coach's
And his
face. And it's
and
Andy
his coach
Reid,
is just
dude.
sitting there like his coach is just sitting there like acting like it's not even happening. It was really weird.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that he's been coaching for years, dude. Andy Reid, he's been coaching for years, bro. I think he coached like the Eagles, and you know, but man, he's been in the league a while, dude. What are your thoughts on this? Sorry, my phone's going off. What are your thoughts on this Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift thing? It's a joke, bro. I don't know. I mean,
if it's a publicity stunt or whatever. I've been hearing that clown dude came out ever since that Richie the Barber clown came out on YouTube, and he's talking about how Taylor Swift's drinking blood at these Hollywood parties, and he was there and seen her, and she's a Satanist and all this stuff. Ever since then, I'm like, you know what? It kind of makes sense, I guess, because she's a big Democrat, and she's like pushes the worst politicians. It's like she's bought out too. Travis Kelce's bought out by Big Pharma. Everybody's bought out by the Big Pharma and the insurance companies. So, but yeah, no, I think it might be, you know, a publicity stunt. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Two peas in a pod there, though. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, though, right?
Oh, dude. Well, I want to see what they're going to be used for, like towards the end of the year. You know, like when it's like middle to the end of the year, they could be used as some sort of like propaganda campaign. I don't know. Another psyop that's like down the road, you know. So I think that's what's coming. I think I just saw something the other day where it said Travis Kelce is now like getting money. I forget if I don't think it's George Soros is funding him, but it could be, right?
Taylor Swift,
but he's going to be a producer. He's going to be like a producer. Like he's going to be involved in filmmaking or something. Travis Kelce. Yeah. So I was like, what the fuck? He might go into acting now. You know, like he might go into like that industry a little bit and dabble in there. They got to cover all aspects of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah. You brought up George Soros. He actually owns. I'm pretty sure he owns like most of Taylor Swift's catalog or something like that.
Really?
I
wouldn't doubt it, dude. The guy's got his.
That's weird. It's weird.
That guy is like the dog owner that's got his leash on all his little dogs, and he can just, you know what I'm saying? Like he's just got his hand in everything, bro. I mean, the amount of money that he's funding, that's what you gotta do. You gotta see what is he funding, and you gotta line it all up. You gotta connect everything together, and you can see like, oh shoot, this is what they want to do. You know, this is why they're doing this. But yeah, dude, I'm pissed. I wanted the 49ers to win, and I'm sorry, bro, but that quarterback Purdy, I mean, he's cool, but he's just such a boy, dude. I felt like he was just a boy in that game, you know.
Mr.
Brock Purdy.
Mr. What's his name? They call him Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant.
He was the last pick in the draft.
He was. Damn. I mean, it's a cool story, but
it's a cool story.
Yeah, it's a cool story. Do you think like the NFL is... Go ahead.
So Taylor Swift is drawing. This is coming from, where is this at? timesofisrael.com. Interesting. Taylor Swift is drawing criticism for calling out the Soros family in an Instagram post. It's the latest salvo in the pop star's ongoing battle with her former record label. The family has long been the center of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about Jewish domination of global banking. George Soros, the Hungarian billionaire, typically is the main target. So basically, let's see what she said about him. After I was denied the chance to purchase my music outright, my entire catalog was sold to Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings in a deal that I was told funded by the Soros family. Wow. So
Interesting,
there you
huh?
go. There you go.
Interesting.
I mean, what's the point? You know,
It's
what's the
not
point?
it's not conspiracy, right?
I think the whole play in that is okay. George Soros is the largest uh, donor to the Democratic Party and certain people in the Democratic Party, specifically the Obamas. He funded majority of that campaign. I think he still is probably the largest funder. But if you're gonna do that, and then what you do is you go dangle that over her head and go, here, do this for me, and
Hmm.
maybe I'll give it back to you, or maybe I'll just pay you outright
Right.
for whatever.
Right.
So,
Right.
and what has she done? She's only pushed the Democratic stuff.
Right.
And a
Yeah.
lot, it's so funny.
Yeah.
The ideologies behind those
Well, you
campaigns,
can
they're
you,
terrible ideologies. It's like they're terrible.
yeah, you could
They're
track all
not
that
smart. They're
stuff.
stupid.
You can track it all on Twitter. Like you can see what they post to their millions of followers. You know, especially like I think it was during the Biden campaign. I think Taylor Swift even was like, telling her followers to go and vote or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
that's big tech, bro. Big tech is,
Yeah.
controlling the scheme, boy.
Yeah.
Controlling
And I
the
kind of wanted to get into that just briefly. Like, it's like become more clear to me now that there's people in this world that have it's nepotism, right? They've had power probably for centuries, maybe even thousands of years, certain bloodlines, certain specific bloodlines, and they're still in power and they still have their agendas to keep power. So they get together and they devise all sorts of plans, and it's the truth. It's
hmm
certain bloodlines, certain families that keep it in the family. You have it's pure nepotism. So if Joe
well that
Biden, Hunter's friend, wants to be a part of it, he needs to play by their agenda, and he can have whatever he wants.
Well, dude, if you look like in the entertainment industry and you look at the actors, you could see nepotism is there. Like you could see that
Oh
these
yeah,
big name actors, let's just say like Nicolas Cage or like Tom Cruise or something, these these people are related to elite families, and they're
mm,
some of the biggest stars like ever in entertainment,
hmm.
especially like Tom
What's
Cruise.
Nicolas Cage's What's Nicolas Cage's old name? He
I
changed
forget
it.
it. He did
Yeah.
change. He did
Anyways,
change it. Yeah, and I
yeah,
think
yeah. It
Tom
was like an
Cruise's name
Italian.
is not his last name is not Cruz.
No, I don't think so
It's
either.
his last name is something else. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
interesting. I think they just kind of try to bury their history. I mean, even Tom Cruise, bro, he got married in a Orsini. I think it was an Orsini castle in
Ah,
Italy, which is, and it was like
ah.
dark with like candles and stuff, and it was kind of like demonic. I don't know if you ask me. It was just kind of
Mm.
dark, of the dark.
And explain because the Orsini family is like a crime boss family from Italy that runs like
Yeah,
a lot
dude.
of the
They're like
Vatican.
they were like the Rothschilds of that day, of either,
Right.
I think it was something in like maybe the 1600s, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little after, somewhere around there, but they basically like ran the Vatican. Like this family, I mean, they owned the banking system back then, like they owned all this production. And I think that's why these families kind of like lined up, not only like Satan worship, but I do think like these families lined up and they have their wealth because they're involved in production value of that time. So like you had like, I don't know, so you had the Rockefellers who were in charge of the oil, right? And then they were in charge
The
of the
Standard Oil.
petrochemical industry and all that stuff. Then they were in the school industry, and they were just everywhere. Then there's other families that are, like I forget the name, but like General Electric, right? So now that's all home production, construction. That's everything that has to do with like a lot of the infrastructure of whatever nation, country it is that they're a part of. And on top of that, they're all involved in the baking system. So it's
Yeah.
like, wow,
That's where the
they're the
nepotism comes in. It's
monopoly.
like
That's why the game Monopoly is like,
yeah.
that's why that game was created, dude. Because look, it's what's
Uh-huh.
happening around the world.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's where the nepotism comes in. It's like you don't have to be necessarily a part of the bloodline, but if you play by the rules and you're smart, you play our game and you can have whatever you want. You
Yeah.
can have whatever you want, and that's where you get these evil, wicked motherfuckers
Well, what
just
you
doing the
just said
dastardly
too
deeds.
is interesting because it's what you just kind of said is biblical, because the same thing is when Satan was like tempting Jesus, 40 days and 40 nights. He was like, basically, obey me and I'll give you everything. It's like exactly what you just said, and
Mhm.
I think there's some relation to that and these families with the occult. Like, I think we see the same thing going on. I think we see the same thing
Mhm.
going on. We
Mhm.
can't objectively see it. It's subjective, right? Because we don't really see it and have proof of it.
Right.
But I think these families are super involved in not only rituals, but dude, I don't know, maybe like summoning demonic power or fallen angel shit, maybe like taking psychedelics and tapping into this other
That's
reality
so
that they
now that you
believe in
said
so
that,
much. They believe in it so much. They believe in it that
there's a lot
I
of
mean,
grassroots organizations right now that are pushing heavily. They're big like organizations that like either you sign up for a membership and pay a membership, or you go on like a resort, a big, thing. You go out to the desert um and what is it called? 29 Palms or what's next to 29 Palms, that weird place, Joshua Tree. So there's these organizations now that are taking people out to the desert and they're doing DMT and they're doing ayahuasca and they're doing
yes,
all
they're doing a
sorts
lot of
of
research on it. There's a lot of
they're doing a
universities too that
lot
are
of
doing a lot
research.
of research on it. And I think
Yeah.
that they moved from giving these patients like that are number one volunteer patients, right? I mean, because they can't really force people to be in not every study is pretty much volunteer. But what my point is,
Yeah.
like, there's a
It's not
toxic.
MK Ultra. They're
Yeah,
not
well, like when
dosing
you're
people
doing
with
studies, like you're monitoring like the toxicity level of whatever dose it is you're giving, right? So they would
mhm,
stretch these people from going to like a 10 to 12 minute trip from a smoking session to now like doing IV infusion
mhm,
with lasting the trip for like for like maybe an hour, maybe a little bit more. And they want these test subjects to go out and wander this
mhm,
other realm, because what they
mhm,
found is that there's a common factor, and the common denominator is that there are these entities that everyone has an interaction with when they go through DMT. And I think that the same level, maybe less, well, for sure less, is like on a mushroom psilocybin trip too. Like, I think you can get maybe some way get those effects as well. But
oh yeah,
like this is
not the
going back
same
to
as
like Alex
DMT.
Jones shit, when like a couple years ago, maybe more, he was talking that these elites are like going on interdimensional travels
Mm,
using drugs and
mhm,
DMT and all this stuff and getting information from them and coming back into this world and then like setting up this operation, which we can see that there is an operation. We can see that there's a new world order, right? So like, okay, I'm seeing that this is of sinister forces, because I think those entities, I think they are sinister. I don't think they're why is everything that they say the truth? They could be lying. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like in all the
yeah,
movies too, like we kind of like show that these aliens don't like humanity, right? So it's like there's a propaganda campaign there, um, because I don't trust it. I mean, I think AI too is like just a vessel that we're giving, like a body that we're giving these entities that they're using. Because I think there's a lot of algorithms behind AI, but at the same time,
mhm,
dude, I think that there's an unseen realm that we can't see.
mhm,
But I
mhm.
think I think there's two forces that are opposing each other. You got good and evil, and I think that the deceptive ones are the bad ones, right? I mean, that's just kind of like what our instincts tell us as humans, because we do
Yeah,
know good
and
and
that's the
evil.
thing. Like, how do these people discern when you take the DMT and you go into this realm and these entities are nice to you, and then you come back and you find out what they were saying was true, so then you trust them more. How do you discern that that
Right.
they're going to eventually take over your fucking body. Like, just come
Right,
into this
dude.
realm.
Like, I mean, they're called the tricksters for like a reason, bro. Like, and I think the term tricksters came from the people of experience, like in this field with psychedelics. And I think that they kind of, there's like jesters, tricksters, there's, you know, there's the elves, there's all these other things. And when you do look at, like, if you take a jester for example, right, like it's checkered, right, in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like I think these secret societies that have this symbolism
The
have been
duality.
I think they've been involved in this stuff for a while. I think drug usage and like you know, hallucinogens, like I think they're a big part of their worship to whatever god that maybe they believe it is, but I think it's, you know, it's all satanic stuff. You could see that though, that when you look at the societies, you could see this, there's some Lucifer reference stuff in Freemasonry and the Shriners. I mean, the Shriners, they even have like an upside down pentagram, like they have a pentagram as their symbol.
Yep.
Okay, so
Right.
there's a, I don't know, and I think a lot of it goes back even just all the pagan religions, and you could track it all the way back there.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
All that
No
stuff.
doubt. Yeah, no
All
doubt.
that stuff.
What did you think? What was up with the commercials? Did you hear about the commercials during the Super Bowl
Oh,
with
dude, you
the?
know, I remember the first commercial that caught my attention was the Jesus commercial. It was the Jesus commercial
Yeah.
with washing the feet, but it was not the Jesus, I think, of the Bible. I think it was just a Jesus that the world's trying to like
Portray. Yeah.
portray or build up people to support. And I think
Mhm.
that that's not good, because you're going to start to develop people that become a part of Christianity, or they say that that's their belief, but then their ideologies are completely in opposition of what,
I
you
agree.
know, the truth is and should be. So that's demoralizing someone. Like
Mhm.
they no longer know how to really process what's true, right? Because they're confused.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they could believe in their ideology with their whole heart, that is the truth, because it's like a personal experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a they call it like a lukewarm message or whatever, but the world's trying to say that I don't know what they're really trying to get at, dude, but that commercial was like, accept everything. It's just very,
Yes.
what it
Accept
is,
everything.
what
That's
it
what
is,
it is.
what it made me think, bro, is like when the World Economic Forum talks about inclusion, like inclusion, bro. It's
You'll have nothing and you'll like it.
I really have
You'll own nothing.
I have a thought that's been leaning on me, and it's that we may see a figure come into this world that may even claim to be Christ,
Mhm.
you know, and you know, it's so deceptive that people think it is Christ, you know,
Right.
and it's like,
I mean, there's people that right
Yeah.
now claim to be Jesus Christ. There is people here right now, but they're just not on CNN. They're not on, you know,
yeah,
they're not the mainstream. They're in some far distant land
Yeah.
typically. There's a few of them. I know there's a few of them that I heard about, and I can't remember the one guy's name, but he, I believe, is in the middle. There's a guy in the Middle East. I don't know if he's still alive, but I heard about him like 8 years ago or so.
really.
And yeah, he claims to be the second coming of Jesus, and he has his few
Interesting.
followers.
Well, I
and
mean, that
people.
is a prophecy, right? Like there will be many that come in my name, saying that I'm Christ. You know, all this other kind of
Right.
stuff. And I think there's something to do with that, and possibly like an example like Bashar.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
yeah.
so there's this whole development with all of these religions, you know, to where it is a Christ consciousness,
Mhm.
that
An
you
all-knowing-
are God, you are Stardust,
all-knowing.
and
Yep.
all
Yeah.
knowing. It's very New Agey too, because it's kind of coming back. That's all New Age means, is these things are coming back. It's just in a different practice. These all
Yeah.
new, you know, things done by man, they're just coming back, and something about it is where I think there's going to be these people like let's just say Bashar, right? If you don't know who Bashar is, he's just a guy. Bashar is the entity that this guy channels. Yeah. And it's, if you watch a thing of it, like when he gets like channeled through, it's kind of funny. It's kind of like, it's kind of pranky
He's
in
a
my opinion.
bullshitter.
Yeah.
He's a bullshitter. My dad loves him, and I love my dad to death.
Yeah.
I always pick on him a little bit for it. And I'm like, a lot of the stuff this guy is saying is like it's spiritual. It seems a lot of it seems good and on point and like makes sense. A lot of it does, and it's like some of it'll make you even thought provoking. But at the same time, I just don't believe the guy at all.
Yeah.
I see his body language. I see the way he talks. I see he's got a website where he sells crystals, and I'm like, I just don't buy it.
Well, that's all just a cult practice, man. Like all that is a cult practice, especially if you just mentioned crystals. But the thing is too, like I think there's a new age movement where you have this narrative that's building, and it's the same narrative that Bashar, talks about. It's the same narrative that, Zechariah Stitchin talks about. Same narrative that, Billy Carson talks about. It's, David Icke. It's all these people that are like, when things that they talk about, I would say 40% you could agree with. Then the other part is like, you have to like discern through and like, take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, like you have I don't know if they're involved in some sort of psyop campaign. I don't know. I mean, there are the Emerald tablets and the translations and all this stuff, but the main guy that broke all that stuff open is Zechariah Stitchin, and like he translated it off of his own education. And when you look up his education, he's not really fully educated to do those translations. I don't know.
See, this is the thing. So he used books out of some old library to translate he used a method that is apparently credible, very credible, and I never really looked into it. Billy Carson does talk about it, and I'm not going to say I've ever been a big fan of Billy Carson, but he's entertaining, and two, he talks about ancient history, and I love that stuff. I love the not knowing, like the Library of Alexandria burnt down. There's certain things that we've lost in time. The King James Bible is 800 years old, right? And then you got the Ethiopian Bible that's 1600 years old and has different books in it. But they're both translated from ancient scripture that is coming from a similar source, saying the same thing. And that's where I'm like, this is fascinating. And it's hard to discern. You really have to dive deep. But as far as Zechariah Sitchin goes, I never really looked into it enough. I'm still on the fence about whether not to believe in it or to believe in it. I'm still on the fence about it.
I think I read something where he was a known 33rd degree Freemason or something or whatever. I mean, but then again, dude, like if you think about it, if these people are involved in these psychedelics and these drugs and they're messing around with entities, and then they hear shit about, oh man, this story of the pagan gods, Enki, Enlil, and all this other kind of stuff, and then it's tracked back all the way to like Sumerian times. Like, you don't think the Sumerians were like involved in psychedelics and all this other stuff, and maybe that's what also helped them build up like that religion, because maybe this is the story that they got from that realm, right? That occult realm.
It says, right. It says that what the fallen came down and taught man stuff that God did not want to teach to man.
Dude, isn't it so trippy?
Occult practices.
Yeah, exactly. And other
astrology, numerology, all sorts of shit.
Yeah, all that stuff.
And that's where I get into the argument with people. I'm like, just because, and you too, like I get in the argument, not necessarily that you don't agree with me, but I say, I'm like, there's some real shit behind numerology and astrology. Like I've witnessed it with my own eyes multiple times, and like it's very credible. It is very credible, and it doesn't, just because it's credible and it might work doesn't mean that it's good to worship or good to follow constantly. And I can understand that part. I can understand, because that was the perspective that you gave me. And it comes from the Bible saying basically, don't worship anything but me.
Yeah, it's not that these things aren't true. It's like, hey, It's like doing the psychedelic. Hey, you're gonna do this, and guess what? It's in your own hands. It's out of mine, and it's
Right.
like, hey, I mean, listen, we have like a heart that's very deceptive, or it could be super influenced. It could be whatever. It could be directed in whatever direction, it's manipulated into, and dabbling into this occult stuff, it can be fascinating. But that's the catch. Like, it's so hooky that, like, it's so supernatural that of course, yes, we are going to like dabble in it. If you're super interested. I mean, I was in Walmart the other day and there's like occult books everywhere. I kind of like to go into the book section and just look at some stuff. Maybe I'll find like a cool, UFO fallen angel thing or something or whatever. And yeah, dude, you'll see all these numerology, astrology, then there's like witch books, and I'm like, oh shit, dude. But they're in the form to where like a 9-year-old would be interested in it. So I'm like, damn, bro, it's new agey. It's just like new agey, dude. Yeah.
A witch coloring book.
Yeah, dude. And there's like different colored potions, and then like you switch through it, and then you see symbolism that's tracked all the way back into like Sanskrit like stuff. It's like, you're like, damn. That's
so here's
trippy.
The thing for you that I've said. Here's something for you that I said recently too, and I heard it from somebody, like it was like Jelly Roll, and then I heard it from
Jelly Roll.
Jelly Roll. Maybe it wasn't Jelly Roll that I heard it from. Jelly Roll brought it. He went to like he did some type of speech in front of Congress or something like that, the Senate, about drug laws and fentanyl and stuff like that. But he brought up Jesus, like, you condemn these guys, but these are the people that Jesus helped. And I'm like, I didn't really. Not that being said, what I wanted to say was Jesus.
Keep talking. I'm going to be right back, though. I got to grab some real quick. Keep talking, though. I'll be back.
Okay, I'll keep talking. Okay, so Jesus, he walked on water, right? And that seems kind of magic to me. He cured a man of blindness. So that's the thing. It's like, it's a tough. You say that, a lot of Christians say that it's the devil if you dabble in certain practices. There's people that believe in white magic. There's people that believe in black magic and white magic and think that there's the white is good, the dark magic is bad, and but in reality, there's a lot of people that say there's only one. There's magic in general is for the devil. So what I was saying, did you hear what I was saying? You didn't hear me.
I didn't. I was obviously
okay. So this was directed towards you.
Okay.
So because I wanted your input.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so Jesus walked on water. The story of Jesus walking on water. You got Jesus curing a man of blindness. You got a story of Jesus turning water into wine. Like these things.
There's baptism, right? Baptism's done in water, right? And Jesus also says things like, every man's born of water, which we technically are, because they.
So this is what I'm saying. So Jesus walked on water. Jesus turned water into wine. Jesus cured a man of blindness. Jesus performed miracles, and I don't know if it says this in the Bible, but man will one day perform miracles as well. And I don't know if that's, I heard that's what it said. I don't know if that's really what it says. But all these things, that being said, he walked on water. He turned water into wine. Well, these things, that's like magic, dude. That's my pushback on a lot of Christians that say, oh, don't dabble in astrology too much or numerology. And I can get the astrology and numerology from a judgment aspect, because you will, and I've done it myself, you will fill your soul with judgment, doubt, all sorts of wicked things that will corrupt you in different ways that is not good for your soul. And the judgment part of the astrology and that stuff, I can understand. Like don't dabble too much into that, because you're just gonna worship it. You're gonna dictate your entire life off of numbers. You're gonna dictate your entire life off of the stars and where the stars are at, and like, a lot of it.
Well, it's gonna become like an idol, right? Like it'll become an idol to you.
Yeah, and it's gonna lead you down, a path of pure judgment and a path of like, you have to use your instincts. You have to like, you can't just sit there and go, let's read my day before it happens. You're not going to know how your day is going to go. Just go about your day and put a smile on, and don't expect something. Don't judge too much. Anyways, So that being said, like, okay, so Jesus performed these miracles. Then
Mm-hmm.
how did he perform these miracles? Because he is the second coming of God, or like Billy Carson says, he went to study at the Buddhist temples. He went to study in Egypt. He studied all the mystic arts in Egypt, and then he came back in his late 20s or early 30s and started performing miracles. And he
Mm-hmm.
said what Billy Carson says is he left when he was 12 and he left and he started studying all sorts of stuff and came back performing miracles. So Billy Carson's aspect is okay, he learned the mystics, the ancient human mystics, the ancient arts, right? And then he
Mm-hmm.
came back performing miracles.
So he's saying
That
that
is
Jesus was a wizard. Is basically what he's
kind
claiming.
of somewhat,
He was.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Right.
Like a David
So
Blaine type guy in that current time.
So I'm not gonna say he's right.
Yeah.
It's entertaining to listen to, but that's my thing. I'm like, okay, if he was a man in flesh, he was a man, and he is performing these miracles. How did he learn them? Was
Mhm.
he just born with these miracles? Was he performing miracles as a child as well?
I think Jesus was God in the flesh.
Right. Okay.
And I think that he got all of his power from God, but the thing is like I mean it was part of him. So if you think about just like the process from the beginning, like Mary, right? Virgin Mary, angel came down, I think talked to Joseph and was like, hey, like your wife's gonna get pregnant, all this kind of stuff. Or I think paraphrasing all that stuff. And then miracle happened. She was impregnated, like virgin birth. And it's like,
Immaculate
I mean,
conception.
I don't know what to think from there, right? So like when we actually look at conception of, you know, male, female, human DNA, and you see the sperm and the egg, you know, come together, they just now learned that it's the egg that chooses what sperm to allow in. Right?
Wow, really?
So there's this process is known now, and when the sperm enters, there's a flash of light, right? And that's actually like can be related to a biblical scripture,
right?
But I don't know what happens at that process right there.
Let there be light.
That process right there, if you do think about it, can be very similar to like, you know, the whole Big Bang theory, right? You have two atoms colliding, boom, right? You have sperm and egg colliding, boom, right? You've got this process of creation, dude. That's insane. Right. And I don't know. What gets me about the whole Jesus thing is that, you know, those documents that like Billy Carson will refer to, maybe he doesn't refer to it much from where he gets his information, right? But you know, I feel there's so much more data in scripture and documentation of another different of a different Jesus than one he talks about. I think the Jesus he talks about supports his narrative, so it's like that's what he's gonna parrot.
He's claiming it's the same.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
He's claiming it's the same person, but the whole thing about going out and being a mystic, you know, person that's going on all these journeys, like I haven't seen any information like that, and I think like Bible. Yeah, and I think like this. I think that story has like been supported for thousands of years. Like people have been trying to disprove all this stuff for thousands of years, and there will be people constantly trying to like do this stuff. People like Billy Carson. There's going to be another Billy Carson coming like in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just going to be more people.
Maybe you got to pick up the Ethiopian Bible, because there's like 66 books in the in the King James Bible.
So the thing is like if the Ethiopian Bible is older than the King James Bible, I'm curious about that, and I'm very interested in it, but it's still going to be the same books that are in that Bible that are in the King James Bible. You know what I'm saying? There could be certain things that are taken missing out. No, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So there's a difference between, and this is where
that's why I said maybe you're missing some of the books. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the
Like,
thing is,
so
like, when you
if the
go,
Ethiopian Bible has 120 books or something like
hmm
that,
hmm
and the King James Bible only has 66, then obviously there might be stories of Jesus in the Ethiopian Bible that's not in
hmm
the King James Bible.
but the thing
And I would
is like,
assume that's the
if I
truth.
have 1,600 copies of the Book of James, right, and then I
Hmm.
have 2 copies of the book of, for example, just whatever, like Marmaduke, that talks about Jesus doing all this mystical stuff. I have more proof with the 1,600 copies that this is valid. This is how historians look at this stuff, than the one that has 2 copies. You see what I'm saying? So they will rule out, and they will
Not
go.
really, like,
They'll
so yeah, so
well,
that's how historians look at it, but I
right.
don't believe that's not really a smart way to go about it because that doesn't make much
I think,
sense. It's
but
like,
I
okay,
think
we're
when you look at the checks and balances of stuff, it could be mythology versus history. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, but what makes more sense to me is a book
Because
that's
that
mass.
seems like a Gnostic
What
view
makes more
on
sense to me
things.
is what makes more sense to me is a book that is mass produced to the world
Hmm.
is more has a chance of being much more deceptive than a book that's not mass produced to the world. I feel like
Hmm.
the ancient history that we have will not ever be mass produced. It's like the telephone game. You're going to lose a lot of it over time. That's how I look at the Bible.
Hmm.
I look at everything. I think the King James Bible is nowhere near complete. I think there's much older scripture
Well, I think
than
they're.
that
I
because
think
Jesus
they're.
is 2,000 years old, right?
Well,
So I mean,
here's the thing too. Like, there's a difference between scripture and then like so like for example,
historical documents.
like the book of Matthew versus like the book of Enoch. Like, there's one that's considered scripture, and then one that's considered like it can be history. You know what I'm saying? So, but the thing is
They're
like,
both kind of. I think they're both similar, I guess, in a way, because the Book of Matthew is
well,
just
it's
him
gospel.
writing about Jesus,
It's
right? It's
it's
Matthew.
yeah. Well, it's gospel. So it's like good
Okay,
news. That's what like these. That's all gospel means, is good news. Pretty much
okay.
like
Well,
explaining the
in the
story of being a
okay,
disciple of,
and
you know.
right, and the Book of Enoch is just explaining an ancient history of man and
Right.
him going through the journey of Earth and
Right.
the realms in Earth, or right. It's the Enoch's. It's Enoch's
Hmm.
description of it,
I
right?
think there's 3 books.
So
I think there's 3 books of Enoch, and it's his documentation of basically what was going on in his time. You know what I'm saying? I think all this came from like
mhm.
Dead Sea Scrolls or something. I think that was like in like,
Ancient,
I think it was like 60s
older
or
than Jesus.
70s or something.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
and
yeah.
this is much older than Jesus,
Yeah,
which
and
is
I mean,
fascinating. That's
some
why
of the
I'm
books
fascinated.
too are like referred. You can see the I don't know if you ever seen like that whole map of like cross references of things in the Bible. It's like,
Yes,
looks like a huge
65,000.
rainbow. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
And some of those books were like referred to. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You know, like even some scripture out of those books was referred. I mean, was quoted like in biblical canon texts. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the answers,
Hmm.
but behind all of that stuff, I don't think there's like a global conspiracy of like of the whole uh deception of religion. I think there is deception that certain religions do, but I don't think it's big enough to cover like the aspect of like Christianity, if that means anything. I think if
Well,
anything, if
I
there
just
was
think
like a
that the King
creation.
James Bible is missing a lot of stuff. I just don't think it's
Sure,
complete. My
sure,
heart of hearts, I
sure.
just don't think it's complete.
No, no, and I think there's some things that were changed. So like if you look at like the Geneva Bible, right? So the Geneva Bible has some words. I'm sorry, the King James has some words that are changed from the Geneva Bible. And the Geneva Bible
Hmm.
was predated before the King James Bible. And some of those words look like they're strategically changed, right? Just given another meaning that gives you
Yeah.
like a different
Perspective, right, right.
perspective.
Change it could change one word could change everything
And a
completely
lot of
for
it has to
sure.
do with like government, right? I mean, he was a leader, so he didn't want people to maybe be like, hey, when you're a leader, you don't want revolt, so you're gonna try and maybe change a few words to get people to not like think of the government so badly, right? Like that's what any leader tries to do. But I think the story of Christ is the main thing of it all, and I think there's more information supporting, biblical Jesus versus what other people claim Jesus may have lived or done or whatever he did. I respect their belief, I think that's what comes down to. I think it's all comes down to belief and stuff.
I mean, if there's like you said, if there's 1,600 writings on Jesus doing this, and then there's like a couple writings in Africa of Jesus doing that, that's I mean, but at the same time, these people. So the perspective that you have is that Jesus wasn't a wizard; that he was the second coming of or he was God incarnate, right?
Yeah.
So he has these abilities that were given to him naturally by God, and no other man can have these because it's not learned. It's not, you can't learn. You're saying you can't go out and be a wizard and learn how to cure a man of blindness.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I would probably agree with that. I mean, I don't know.
I think the biggest thing too is like, and I know like we're getting hard into this religion stuff, which is cool though, because I mean, I think some of it needs to be talked about. But I think like too, like I mean, claiming to have risen from the dead is a huge thing, especially like back in those times. And like the one thing that I found interesting is those Roman times. I mean, with the seal that was on the tomb. If you would, I think, come like 10 feet from one of the guards, he's going to kill you. I mean, there's a seal from, the Roman emperor at that time. And Rome was the empire in the world at that time, which then I believe later became a church, right? We know what that is today. But that was the empire at that time. And they were in Israel, they were in Jerusalem and all that stuff. And for the tomb to be empty, and for those guards to go back and to tell what happened, they're going to get killed. Like, imagine being the guard, right? And you're like, holy shit, there's an angel on top of the tomb and he's scaring the shit out of me and he's telling me Jesus is not here anymore. And then he runs back to these are documented too by other people that are not in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Like certain kings of Jerusalem and all this kind of stuff. And other
is there 200
big scholarly people at that time wrote about this, huh?
Is there there was how many people saw Jesus like the day
I think
after?
I just want to say like 500 or something.
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
It was a lot of people, yeah. In which they all tended to die for what they saw. And then so I get that. I mean, people don't die for something that they're, you know what I'm trying to say? They're not going to give up their life for something that they don't entirely, maybe objectively know. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I do think a lot of these people that ended up living their lives on the run after that shit, I think there's something to it, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree.
I mean, why are we seeing this stuff like in our modern day right now? I mean, shouldn't have all this shit like just weaned off and died out, and like all these new generations just came over and just said fuck this shit, bullshit. This is why, and when we see like the whole satanic stuff in the world, and then we see that there's good in the world that is opposing this stuff, I'm just like, it's most likely been here forever if I'm seeing it go over the course of this amount of time. And I mean, those things I objectively see, and there's more evidence of that stuff than anything else, I think. And especially go ahead.
What, like when you look at the Super Bowl and you look at the ad, when it's like the straight white man, cis man, whatever you want to fucking call him, washing that gay black dude's feet, and it's just like, it's very fucking weird. It's really fucking weird. And I agree with you when you say they are trying to portray Jesus as like this don't care, he'll take care of
it's like
whoever.
New Age Jesus,
And you know what? It is true. Jesus did take care of everyone. He had love for everyone. God has love for everyone. But if you stay wicked If you stay wicked, I'm not gonna say you're gonna burn in hell. I'm not gonna say that. But if you're a gay dude and you're going out and you're doing party drugs all night long and you're living that culture that has always been known to be the gay culture, it's full of party drugs. That's where they say acquired immune disorder comes from. So it's not a good lifestyle. So if Jesus were to help you, he's going to try to help you not live that lifestyle. It's not like he's accepting your lifestyle because, he accepts everybody. No, you accept God into your heart and you accept the good and you stop living those types of lifestyles that are going to inevitably kill you. It's not like that in Jesus. Like, yes, Jesus was good. But you just can't be a bad person. You can't be a shit person going out and doing drugs all night long. I'm not going to get some more detail than that. But
an example is like Taylor Swift. Like she claims to be a Christian, but she also like posted something about support real Christians support like abortion, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
That just doesn't make
nobody does.
It's biblical too. That like a kingdom cannot be against itself. So like where I'm getting at with that is like a demon can't cast out a demon, or so there's you can't say that and then have us believe that
didn't she have horns and like a red suit on in one of her shows? She had like horns on her.
She wore black and white during this Grammys, which she also won a Grammy. Yeah, she won a Grammys. She's wearing black and white. We know that's like Freemasonic checkered floor, balancing of the whole forces between good and evil, which is why I think like you have this feeling of oppressing forces in political nature. Like this is why I think this exists, because they are in control of the world.
Yeah,
and
I think the whole democratic
they want to, so they created a system with two opposing views. Right. And they're gonna work their whole thing through this system, and it's gonna be great because whichever side it goes to, they still are manipulating the game. They're still in charge anyway. Republic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you think the person that comes in and becomes president of the United States is like in control, heck no, dude. There's corporations that are above him, number one. There's bankers that are above those people, number two. And like, you're nothing.
They have their own sides.
Yeah.
There's one guy that went on Sam Tripoli's podcast, the Tinfoil Hat podcast, recently, was talking about how he thinks that Trump's a Luciferian and the Clintons and the Democratic side are Malachians. They're both kind of this wicked powerhouse of world dominators, whatever you want to call them, but they're two wicked entities just butting against each other, And I was like, that's interesting, because I could see like the Luciferian side of Donald Trump with Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, owning 666 Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, what's crazy too is that the United Nations address, the numerical on the address is 666. United Nations, right?
Their address.
Why is the 666 seat empty of the Parliament, whatever?
That's all Freemason stuff, right?
In Europe, I mean, it's basically like the United Nations in Europe, but
no, wait.
What are they called? The European Union or something?
I think this guy was saying that the Freemasons are they think 666 is a bad luck number or something like that. Or what is this? It's 777s. I'm mixing that up. Do the Freemasons, they prescribe to the 666 too?
Oh, I think so. When you look at a lot of, this is like going back to your whole numerology thing and this whole like gematria stuff. It's like when you look at how much 666 is a part of like almost like a naturistic view on things, you see that 666 is a part of almost everything. I mean, the spin of you got like the tilt of the earth, you've got all this stuff that is a part of astronomy that have 666 to deal with it. You've got all kinds of other things that add up to it, and I think it's something that the elite worships. In that case, like I think that they worship the existence of it, that it's present in so many things. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. No,
I think that, I mean, the number 33 is, you know, iconic in Freemasonry. We know that.
also the highest numerical, like the numerology. That's the highest form of Christian. Christian is actually a life path 33.
You know,
That
it's
she's considered that because of her birthday. When
right.
you add it
And I
up, how
think
you add it up.
when you have 33, right? So if we think of a third
Shouldn't
of
have said that.
something, when we think of a third of something, we think of 33.3333, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So what is the kind of like almost like opposite of that? It's like 66.6666, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you like have something like that, it almost brings me back to like Nimrod times.
It's the opposite, right? It's duality, the
Well, it's
good and
almost
evil.
like, well, I think Nimrod was like 2/3 of like Nephilim, God
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and
Right.
I think the other third was man, and I think that's a big reason why they worship these numbers, and I think that you know, you've got the, you know, Mount Hermon, which is laying on the 33rd degree parallel. You've got all of these pyramids on the 33rd degree parallel. You got all these other monumental features that are lining up with these numbers. It's weird, man. And it's in a lot of pagan like religion too. That's why I'm like, when I hear all the Billy Carson stuff and all that kind of stuff, I just feel like
You see a lot of pagan stuff.
I
Is what
see
you're
it's all, a
seeing.
lot of pagans. Yeah, it's a lot of pagan
Yeah.
stuff. It's a lot of
And
fallen
that's
angel
where I
worship.
agree with
It's
you.
fallen
Yeah,
angel
that's where
worship.
exactly, and that's where I tie into it with you because
You know, we might
I
not have the
learned
whole story of Jesus like entirely
right, right. That's what I
correct.
believe.
Okay.
That's what I
But
believe.
there's a very
And I see where you're
simple
coming from.
understanding. It's just believe
Yeah.
in God. That's what he asks. Because it gets so I believe that that's you know, our ticket into salvation. And I think it's a free ticket, which makes it easy, you know, something easy to do, but you really got to kind of, you know, believe in it to do it. But I think that that's what God would do in a crazy ass deceptive world, you know, is just like, instead of doing all these things to like, you know, get into the kingdom, it's like, hey, just, this is all I need you to do. I'll take care of the rest, which he
Simplify.
did. He died for, you know, humankind. Like he did it all. Right. So like there's nothing I can do to get in heaven but believe. Right. So like that's the whole foundation of the gospel and that whole story. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm
And he
not
fought the fallen, dude. He fought the fallen, bro. Like what did he do? Most of his you know, ministry is like he casted out demons, bro. Like he was fighting to free people from these entities that were
wicked.
just oppressing people, or
Hmm.
just even just you know, possessing people. Like, man, dude, I really, you know,
There's a lot of weird stuff going on
yeah,
right now. So it's
there
like
is.
when you tell me you go, Christ is coming, I'm like, maybe, because
Maybe
look at
because
all
it's,
this weird shit that's going on,
yeah.
bro. And like I mean, I've seen some weird stuff firsthand. So I was gonna say that I don't think I've ever seen a demon incarnate, but I may have because I've seen some weird stuff firsthand.
Oh
Just
my
living in Las
gosh, that's
Vegas and
crazy.
seeing these people, just mostly they're just on drugs.
And
But I
and you know
mean,
what? Who knows, bro? Maybe fallen angels are you know, interdimensional, but also can be like a physical thing, a physical being, right? That like comes and roams around in, you know, flying technology that we just cannot understand. Like, what if we, you know, I mean, what if there's different abilities with different angels, you know, and all this kind of stuff. You know, I mean, L.A. Marzulli, I had him on my other show. Like, he talks about these beings being like meat suits for these entities and stuff, and that, you know, this is because he's done a lot of research with like Roswell and things, and I think that's what grabbed his attention into all of this stuff. But like I said, it's just, I think it goes all the way back to fallen angel worship, religion. I don't know what the world was like, but it was so bad that it had to get destroyed by a global flood or something like that. So I just I can't envision how bad it was. Yeah, the Bible says there was a lot of violence in those days, and
yeah,
man's heart
we're
was
getting there.
completely wicked.
We're getting there.
I don't
We're
know if
getting
there
there. Look
was
at these people.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know if there was like an integration going on with man. Well, we kind of know that there was. The whole Genesis 6 story, like, you know, the sons of God and to the daughters of man, you know, and it's like, what was going on, dude? Was there just like a hybrid program? Was the whole world being? It's kind of like when you have a creation, you make it, and you're hoping that this one thing doesn't go wrong, but holy shit, it went wrong. And it's like multiplying, and you're just like, the only thing I can do is just fucking incinerate it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's so. Yeah, man, crazy. I don't know what the world was like. I did think it was crazy. I do think it was crazy, and I think these mother effers had technology that helped them build these. I mean, these historic things that we can see. I mean, I don't know how much I believe in carbon dating. But I'll take what they tell me. And I mean, I think these pyramid structures had something to do with pre-Diluvian times. Like, I think they had something to do. It's almost like when you watch like the movie Alien vs. Predator. And when the aliens are fighting the predators, like on in the world, they're like fighting like at the top of like pyramids. And it's like they ruled,
right,
you know, the people, and that this was their way of that they demanded worship and all this other kind of crap, you know.
Yeah, well, that's what Billy Carson says too. He says that these things, these like hybrid humans or whatever, the Nephilim, like you got the Hindu one, the blue skin people, and you got these people that, well, what Billy Carson says is there's the one man that was Thoth or something like that taught the entire world how to build pyramids. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. So it's this hybrid being, this Nephilim thing that's like it's not human really. It taught all the humans, taught everybody how to build pyramids, and then guess what? There's pyramids everywhere. So it's like, that's easy to buy that story.
Yeah.
And it's also easy to go, you know, I mean, it's there. It's physical evidence. Why was there pyramids all over the world that all look very similar?
Right.
What's the point?
And why if they were all over the world, how is it not a spirit that they are worshiping? I mean, you're going to have like the Aztecs that they may be in communication with the other side of the world, like Egypt or something. But there was that's what I'm saying. Like that, and there's like it's almost like a serpent spirit. When you look at a lot of like the figures, there's serpents and all this other kind of crap, dude. You know, there's humanoid people with like, you know, bird heads and shit. And you got this weird type of vibe where then some of them are bigger than others. Like, what are they saying, right?
There's the giants thing too. Like, it is 100% proven and easily proven. You can go on the internet right now. The what's the big museum that got caught? They threw away, or they got caught hiding all the big giant human skulls.
Was it the Smithsonian? Maybe, I don't know. Is that the big one?
Yes, it was the Smithsonian, and they got caught red-handed. There's so much evidence of giant humanoid bones found from 7 feet to 10 feet tall, and even taller than that. Specifically in Nevada, recently they were talking about this. This is old news to all the conspiracy heads. This is old news. They found giant red-haired giants in Lovelock, Nevada. And it's like, come on now, man. Like, these things were real. And these things were cannibalistic. I would say there's probably other giant tribes that weren't. But this is what, you know, we go back to the Nephilim talk. The whole Ronald McDonald clown face with the red around the nose and the mouth is like Taylor was saying from your show, the Remnant Warriors.
Yeah.
Taylor talks about it like, hey, the clown comes from the Nephilim. They were giant cannibalistic they'd eat humans. They were giant humans. Red hair. Right, exactly. And they'd have blood on their face and blood on their nose.
Kandahar giants, bro. Kandahar giants.
So, you know, these things are... This is... And, you know, that's one of the Nephilim that's closer to our times that survived the flood. So that Nephilim, they survived the flood.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, that's real stuff if you really look into it. Because in this fake fabricated reality, it's not even mentioned. It's not even talked about. It's not. But if you really look into this stuff, like, it's tracked back in every culture. Every
Every culture,
every culture, every
even
civilization,
the
man. I'm
dwarfs,
sorry.
the dwarfs people too, the little
Uh,
dwarf people.
um, yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. There's so many of these like accounts of things that like point to the Bible so much, and I'm like, dang, it's got to have something about it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
lines
Uh,
up. It lines up.
it lines up. It lines up. And I mean, it says to in the end days, right? And like we all think we're getting there, but it says that the days of Noah will kind of, take place in the end times. And so, like, when you're thinking of those days of Noah,
Right.
what is going to take place in the future? Like, is it good? Do you think these things, you think there's going to be just another integration? Do you think there's going to be like a whole nother, you think there's going to be
there
content?
already is.
I think there's going to be this, I don't know what it's going to look like, but it could be like this contact, scenario that takes place here in maybe 3 years or so. Everyone's saying like 2027, all this kind of crap. You got these CIA agents saying this. You've got, other people that are a part of, what's that UAP program that's part of like the Pentagon? Maldonado, whatever his name is, but he's saying that there's going to be contact. I mean, you got all these people talking about it. What do you think it's going to look like? What do you think it's going to look like? I mean,
I think they're already messing with our DNA now. I think they probably have been, but at like a mass level, to force everyone to take this so-called vaccine, and a lot of people, have been claiming from the beginning that it is gene therapy. It's not a vaccine, it's gene therapy. And there's a lot of very credible people that say that. One of them, I believe, is Robert Malone. He's a part of creating that. So I think they're already messing with our DNA, and the integration is already happening. And I think that we're probably several years out from seeing some type of, whether it's hybrid beings that they created, or dude, it's crazy, man. It's nuts. I think we're close though. I think
but do
sadly,
you
I think
think,
like you're right about the days of Noah. I think
but
it's
do you
right. I
think,
think we're coming
there's
to an
going to be
end.
like a contact event? I just
Yeah,
can
like I
only
said,
think of that because of all these movies that are being built, dude. And like, I mean,
I think if there's a contact event, I think it's going to be probably, like I said, hybrids that are created from our DNA, and they're going to be used to
I see. To be part of the
kill
narrative
off
that,
everybody, maybe.
oh wow, dude, it's crazy. You can like surgically manipulate someone to look like an alien. Dude, I even think I
Oh
sent you
yeah,
guys that video of like that guy that he calls himself Alien Guy or
man,
something.
so
Dude, was
weird,
that
dude.
so weird? Dude, he had
The guy's a
notches on his
psycho.
head.
Ugh.
It
And
honestly
he cut his
reminded me
nose
of
off.
like, it honestly reminded me of that Brazilian event in
Oh yeah,
Virginia or whatever.
Virginia. Yeah. Okay. So did you see the video I sent you just recently?
Yes.
So,
Wait,
so the
which
the
one?
YouTuber Night God, I
Yes.
follow
Okay.
him, and he posted this crappy video, this old video of, so it's supposedly one of the aliens laying on the ground in the ship laying on the ground, and the guy, it's just a video of the guy stumbling upon the crash site, and he sees the alien on the ground and all the wreckage. And when he zooms in on the alien, it's really crappy footage because it's from the 90s. This happened in 1996.
Hmm.
So the footage, when you look at the alien looks exactly like those three girls described, exactly to a T. It looks slimy, it had red eyes, it had the things on its head, it had the V'd feet that looked like the V.
Yeah.
Bro,
Oh,
and
you
I'm
know
like,
what's
oh my
crazy?
God, this is real.
You know what's crazy too is, dude, this kind of makes me think of what's her name, Anne something. She wrote a book. She's the one that's the Annie Jacobson. Annie Jacobson. She wrote a book that talks about Roswell being a crash, but it was a
Hmm.
crash from a Russian propaganda uh, operation to where they were trying to, I think, scare the United States or deceive the United States that there was like existence of alien UFO stuff or whatever. But these beings um, that were part of this crash were actually human beings, but were
I've heard
medically
about this.
surgically
Hmm.
manipulated to look,
Hmm.
you know, alien, right? So it's
I heard
like
about this.
you got that. Then we were just talking about, dude, like there's people that are walking the streets that look like an alien today, right? A real guy. And then you've got, I mean, it's possible. Is it I mean,
I don't
who
believe
knows the
that.
truth, right?
I
But I
don't
mean,
believe that at all. I think there's these little things.
I think it's
that
possible though.
I think that Virginia thing is real, and I think these things have been coming out of the ocean, and there's
Oh,
probably
another thing
deep
about Virginia
caverns.
and Brazil there, dude, is that that area is super involved in the occult. If you look at a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
the
you were
things
telling me
that
that.
Brazil does and all that kind of stuff, which maybe it's just like, you know, ushering in these things or whatever. I don't know. But
Yeah,
I do think a lot of these hot spots, especially with UFOs, are there's a relation between them, the occult, and all the 411 missing people.
I
That's
do agree with
I
all of
agree with
that.
all of that. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean that's a common denominator with those three. Even if you look at the maps, you compare the maps up together, and you're like, oh shoot, dude, what?
Why did we create the atom bomb or the hydrogen bomb or both in New Mexico? That's where it was developed. And that's
Mm,
exactly the same place it was developed in Los Alamos is exactly where all these fucking spacecraft had been. And there's this one lady. Okay, let's bring this lady up. So the one lady that went on Joe Rogan recently, that's a scholar, and she's a religious scholar, and has been investigating UFO crashes in specifically in New Mexico, and excavating UFO crashes in New Mexico since the mid 2000s. And she's claiming that she's gone to these sites in New Mexico. There's multiple crashes. She said this was not just Roswell. Before Roswell, after Roswell, there's been multiple. And she calls this stuff. She dug up some stuff she calls frog skin, and she said it's exactly what Bob Lazar and a couple other guys have talked about. This material that you can just like crumple up, this thin metal material you can just crumple up, and then when you release it,
right,
it goes back
right.
to normal. But it's super durable, and it's wild to hear that. And I
Yeah.
wonder, is it a part of
Well, dude,
a
now
psyop? Is it
no,
real?
hear me out, dude. What caught my interest in this interview was when she starts talking about oh shoot, I had his name. Now I lost it. Oh my gosh. Jacques Vallée. Jacques
Yeah,
Vallée.
Jacques Vallée. Yep.
Jacques Vallée, right?
Yep.
She's I think in his house, and he's got like these bookshelves and stuff, and he's got all these books about like angels and demons and stuff. And Jacques Vallée's stance on a lot of this stuff is that he thinks it's sinister and that there's an involvement with occult, he didn't not specific about practices, but the whole belief in the the sinisterness of these things between
Hmm.
UAPs, UFOs, contact of the first
Hmm.
to the sixth kind, whatever it is you want to talk about. But
Hmm.
that is his belief on it. And I think she like pointed out one of the books, and she's like, what is this about, and he gives off this like smart ass comment or something, whatever. But it just made you think like maybe there is something to it. Maybe he was investigating this stuff and kind of came across this
Hmm.
information. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah, because
we're getting it now, maybe 30 years later, because he probably understood this stuff a long time ago. It's almost like when Aleister Crowley talks about, he's like, they were called angels and demons, and then this is a quote from him, and then he's like, in the future they'll be called something else. It's almost
Hmm.
like it's
Hmm.
that was their identity.
Yep.
Now we're giving it a different one
I agree with that.
because there's this narrative behind it.
Right.
But I do think it is what it used to be called. And if
Right.
that makes any sense.
I agree with it. I agree with it 100%. I mean, there's paintings of UFOs that are
Yeah. And I
very,
think,
very old, older
yeah,
than the Bible.
yeah. And I think this stuff is so complex because it's real, but we are of this realm, but we can only understand so much. So there's like a
Hmm.
capacity limit, right? That like we can only ask so many questions to try and understand because that's all we're trying to do. Even since like we were
Yeah.
born, the little kid, we're just trying to learn and understand how things work. But the supernatural is something else, bro. I think there's a lot of things
Hmm.
paranormal with it. I think there's a lot of things demonic with
Well,
it.
like you said, there's an
All that kind
unseen
of stuff.
realm, and then there's a seen
That's what I'm
realm.
saying. That's what I'm
There's a
saying.
physical realm, and then there's the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. Like a lot of people think about that it's so complicated, in my personal opinion. It's so complicated, and there's so much to the unseen realm that it's not just black and white like people think. Like, I don't think there's just ghosts wandering around this realm. I think that realm is filled with all sorts of stuff that can
Oh yeah,
interject and come into our realm.
yeah.
I don't know if there's multi-dimensional stuff like everybody wants to think, in the multiverse like everybody wants to
What if
believe
there's
now,
just
the
like two
Hollywood's push, but
dimensions? What if there's just like
right,
two dimensions? Maybe like,
right.
spiritual and physical. That's kind of like how I understand it as, but
I mean, I understand the part where they're talking about one dimensional, two dimensional, three dimensional, four dimensional, right?
mhm.
I get the dimensional part, but when you
But then
start
the
going
5,
beyond
the
that,
6
it
is,
gets iffy.
yeah,
It just
it's
gets a
iffy.
little
Yeah.
confusing.
Right. Oh,
Confusing.
absolutely.
Very confusing. But
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. What'd you think about that? It was captured in like the early 2000s, I think, but it was just released. The little jellyfish UFO that everybody's been
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about.
that
It's
was
just like,
taken
it's,
from a military optic, right, or something like that, or some
yeah,
camera
from a jet,
from a
a
jet,
thermal jet. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's just kind of cruising, dude. Just
Weird. And it goes into the
gliding.
ocean. It goes into the ocean. Bro, I'm telling you, I've seen these things out here. I'm going to call in on Sam Tripoli's podcast again, and I'm going to give my accounts. You only have 3 minutes to talk,
Okay.
and when I have some time, I'm going to call them and give them all my accounts of everything that I've seen. Because there's another one, that black orb. I've seen a black orb out here, literally like hundreds of feet away from me in my backyard. And it was
Jeez.
dead silent, and it went right over. It went probably,
Over the
I'd say it
mountains,
went
huh?
about 16 miles or so, maybe even 20 miles or so over the mountains in seconds. And it looked like it was going slow. It was dead silent. It's not a fucking weather balloon. I've
Right.
seen some stuff out here, and it's all relatable to everything that has been talked about.
I
How
know.
they fly, how they move, how they
And I'm
look.
like,
I
I just
seen some
don't.
shit, bro. I seen like the jellyfish thing. It looked like it had all these weird, like it looked organic in a way. It had all these weird things coming off of it. I looked up one day and I seen, this is probably the first thing that I ever saw. I looked up in the sky, right up Charleston, in Las Vegas, and I saw, my buddy was trying to point it out to me, could never find it because it was cloaked. Like 20 minutes later, he goes, "There it is. Look, just follow my hand. Look again." And I see this weird geometrical shaped massive object that had all sorts of stuff on it. It looked like straight out of Star Trek, like Star Trek. It was weird looking. Had this thing that was like a part of the ship, but not a part of the ship rotating next to it. It was all just a bunch of weird shapes. It didn't look. It was not aerodynamic in any way. It was very weird,
Yeah, that's
very weird. And
weird.
it was just
Well, the
moving
jellyfish
forward.
one doesn't look aerodynamic either. It
No,
doesn't look it
exactly.
now. I don't know
Very
what that
weird.
is, and this is like where I'm like, I don't know. I have an idea what to believe, but I just don't know what is military, what isn't,
Right.
and
Right.
what, or is it kind of all the same thing to where the occultism in our military, which if you don't believe that that's truly happening, like there's a lot of operations that have taken place where it's a cult practice. So maybe they're channeling in this information to create this technology. I don't know.
Right.
Now,
Yeah, I agree.
because
I
we
can see
know
that.
that a lot of scientists have been doing that crap for a long time. I mean, especially like Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley,
Right.
right? Aleister Crowley wasn't a scientist, but Jack Parsons was. He was someone
Right.
that was really known for developing NASA and rocket science and all this other kind of stuff. But he's out in the desert doing
Doing
sex rituals.
sex rituals, weird blood sex rituals.
Is he getting
Yeah.
his information? Is he getting some
Sacrificial
sort of, yeah?
sacrificial sex
Well, now
rituals. Like all weird shit.
this brings up. I want to bring this back up about, you were talking about that girl that was talking about her
Frog skin.
frog
Yeah.
skin thing on JRE. Now she talks about that there's her buddy. I don't know, forget his name, but someone that is involved in SpaceX and
It's a
also
fake name. I think
it's
it's
a
a
fake
fake
name,
name.
Tyler. I think that
Right.
she called him or something.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But he was known to be a researcher and a scientist for these big aeronautical space agencies, and he has these protocols that he has to follow in order to like receive equations from like or further information about
hmm
get further advancing their technologies and stuff. And it's like that might be just like falling into the same shit that like Jack Parsons was trying to do, or
Yeah,
even just
I could see it.
even people that were like very famous philosophers back in the day, dude. They talk about this, and it's known as jinn, but it's known in the
Hmm.
Greek as daemonion, which is like demon,
Yeah,
right? So it's
demons,
like
right,
there's these entities that will help give you information. It's either if you're
right,
in
all
contact with it
knowing,
or not. Yeah, all knowing, right?
right.
So it's
Hmm.
um man, crazy stuff, bro. So
And by how she was talking about this guy Tyler's, it seems like he was given orders to do specific and tell her
yes.
specific things because he only told her very specific information, and he did not go above and beyond. He knew what he was going to tell her. Like it's almost like he was given orders to give her this info
Yes.
and bring her
Yes.
to this New Mexico desert.
Yeah,
So
trippy,
yeah,
trippy stuff, man. I
yeah,
mean, and it's all, man, so connected, dude. All of that stuff, especially
yeah.
there was that book I read, um, UFOs and the occult or whatever. But dude, it was insane how it does kind of lead back to all that stuff. I mean, they were even talking about bringing things over into the other realm, and I don't even know, maybe like Jack Parsons like left some portals open or some shit, because
Yeah.
shortly after that time, what was it was like, yeah, the Roswell incident, you had World War II, you had all that stuff, you had like the whole Nazi regime and all that um crazy stuff. I mean, Crowley's channeling in entities, giving them names. They look
Lamb,
like
all
freaking
sorts of
grays. They look
Yeah,
like
yeah.
grazed. I mean,
Fucking weird, dude.
come on,
It's
bro.
so weird. It's so weird too, and it's like how he did that channeling, and there was multiple people that were there that saw this portal like open up above them, and this weird gray alien came out. But it was sex rituals and like blood sacrificial sex rituals. So it's like, look at what Hollywood's doing right now. Look at all the weird sexualization of stuff. And I was just listening to Sam Tripoli talk about this today and yesterday. Look at what they're doing to our daughters. Like, look what they're doing to these girls. They're these girls are growing up with sexy red, and they're growing up with these weird bitches that are famous, and they're these like they look up to these women, and they're twerking, and
Yep.
they're teaching them like how to be a bad bitch and all this just fucked up shit that you don't want your daughter knowing about. Like you don't want your daughter looking up to these people. You don't want anybody looking up to these people. It's wicked. It's
Yes.
it's just not a good human being. Like it's disgusting. It's disgusting that culture, the lifestyle. It's crazy. It seems like a campaign. It just seems like they're doing it to us on purpose.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to develop these newer generations that are going to just teach the younger ones, and it's just building like it. If you establish a lot of belief systems for an individual at a young age, I mean, they're going to go the lifespan,
Yeah.
just
I got to get out of
believing that.
Vegas, dude. I got to take my. I was thinking about it in the shower earlier this morning. I'm like, I got to get out of Vegas. I can't. I got another little boy on the way. We just did an ultrasound yesterday, and he's all healthy and cute, moving around.
Oh, dude, that's awesome,
14
man.
weeks. Yeah, he's adorable. I love him already, and I didn't feel like this about my first son. I never had a kid before, and I was really nervous. And now that I love my son so much, and I've had kids, and I'm like, I got kids around me all the time. My buddies' kids come over. They're all around the same age. And it's
Right.
like, man, I have a totally different perspective. And now I'm worried. I'm worried about raising them here. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, well, where will I go? Where the fuck can I go? You can't really hide.
You can't
They've
go.
covered,
There's no refuge, right?
if you have a television, you can't hide. You can't hide anywhere. If you have a computer, you have they're flooding the media. They're flooding our feed. They're flooding our brain. They're
Yeah.
controlling everything, the culture completely. They've got almost this one world order going on because the culture that we've created here in America, the Hollywood culture, everybody around the world looks up to it. Everybody around the world is
Yeah.
influenced by this stuff now, and you can't get away from it.
I don't think it's meant to be like getting away. I just think it's just going to
Yeah.
be the new. The
Hmm.
it's
It is.
and there's really nothing you can do about it because it's going to like sear the people's hearts like an iron, hot iron, bro. And it's like it's going to be a belief system that's going to be created that is going to be a lie. A lot of it's going to be a lie, and a lot of people are going to be given like a they're going to be given the ability to fully believe that lie if they choose to, like a delusion. Like they can
Mhm.
accept that, you know, the card trick, oh shoot, it's magic, or is it an actual the guy's doing something to hide it, you know?
Yeah.
It's either they're going to believe as it appears, and then but not
It's
what it truly
amazing.
is.
These people, you like going back to the culture thing. You watch them and you're like these TikTok dances. And you see these normal looking families and they're letting their young daughter or little boy or whatever, they're letting their young child listen to these crazy, crazy sexual songs. And the parents sit back and go, "Oh, it's just a TikTok dance." And they laugh about it. And they're just
Yeah.
sitting there laughing, like dancing with their kids, like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
You think it's okay. You're like, I don't want to be racist. I don't want to be transphobic, homophobic, whatever you want to call it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to support the culture and I'm going to let my child support the culture too. It's bullshit. It's wickedness. You can't let your kids twerk and they're fucking 5 years old. What are you doing?
Right.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on with everybody?
I know.
And then you look at the lady and she goes to church every other Sunday. Like,
Oh,
you
it's
know what I mean?
terrible.
It's like she thinks it's okay. It's
Oh, it's
okay. It's just a,
terrible.
it's
It's
you know, you
terrible.
don't be homophobic. Don't be transphobic. Just
Those
go along with it.
those people are gonna like try and get me to take the mark of the beast, and I'm gonna just like shoot the fuck out of them with my AR. I'm sorry, dude. Like, I mean,
I was
YouTube. That
literally
was a
thinking the
joke,
same thing. I'm
YouTube.
like,
Okay, but like,
get
dude, like,
the
get
fuck
the
off
heck
of
out
my
of here, bro. I mean,
property.
like, seriously. But that's where this whole thing, like this inclusion thing, is gonna really, at some point, it's gonna stir up big time, bro. Like the the pot is gonna boil at some point, bro, with this inclusion thing. You saw the
Oh yeah,
corporations try to do it not too long
it
ago, and
already is
then they got
boiling. The
shot
fucking
down. Their
pots
stocks hit the shit, and then you
go
know,
woke, go broke. Yeah, a lot of them like Bud Light. I was just talking about this too the other day. Bud Light really is turning that shit around quick. They turned the train around quick. I don't know if somebody took over, somebody got fired, but they
oh
changed
yeah,
their whole
dude,
campaign thing. They're like, let's hire Shane Gillis as a spokesman, who
yeah,
was fired by
yeah.
SNL, and then SNL is having Shane Gillis come on and host now because he's so big and popular.
What was the
I don't know why
guy?
he's doing it.
Who was the person that was part of their campaign? It was Delvaney or something. Dylan
Dylan Mulvaney.
Mulvaney. Jeez, golly,
Yeah,
that guy's on the
that
street right now, bro. He's like, yeah, dude, I lost my fucking job, bro, with Bud Light.
oh, I'm sure he's
Nobody
okay. I'm
wanted to
sure.
be. No one wanted to become trans.
I'm sure he's
Damn
gonna,
it.
if he sticks on this, he's gonna off himself. At some
Oh
point.
man, I don't care what you
It's you
do,
know,
dude. It's just don't throw it down my freaking throat, or make me do
yeah.
it, or make me. Yeah, that's not right. That's not
I
good.
just think keep the sexual stuff off of media. Keep all the sexual stuff off of media. You know, the songs included. It's just cringy to me. The whole push the gay narrative, it has to do with sex. Keep it in your private life. Keep it in the sideline. You don't see straight commercials where straight people go on there and start twerking and acting and showing off how straight they are. Like, just keep it to yourself. Don't push it down anybody's throat. I don't push that I'm straight down everybody's throat. You know,
Hmm.
it's a guy thing. If you're hanging around your guys and you're shooting the shit, that's different. That's your own personal time. I'm not acting like that on camera, pushing a campaign about how straight I am,
Yeah,
and how proud I am to be straight. I really don't give a shit. So that's the thing. It's like they're pushing that. It's all part of the agenda.
yeah.
It is.
Sorry, that was my dog. He just kind of like opened up the door and like peeked his head over. I was like, "Oh, dude, what's up, man?"
Cutie butt.
Yeah.
Cutie butt.
But that's I got a couple more minutes here. We could just kind of maybe start wrapping it up and stuff. Is there anything else you
Yeah.
wanted to touch on, man? You hit it for a
Not
few
really,
minutes.
man. No, not really. I just, it's
We
what's
finally got
next.
on the
That's all.
microphone, you know. We finally got back. We were taking a little bit of a break there. We had a bunch of, we were all busy
We're
schedules
all
and
busy.
stuff.
It's all good.
We're
We'll
missing
get back
Louis
to it.
today. We're missing Louis. Me. But he's saving lives because he's a bad
Yes.
motherfucker.
He's fucking saving lives out there,
So,
literally.
no, he
So
really
yeah,
is.
but yeah, no, nothing extra to talk about. We'll jump on again really soon, and we'll instead of shooting the shit, we'll have something prepared.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
talk about, maybe have a guest on or something too. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Whatever you guys
yeah,
want to
for
do.
sure, dude, for sure. I enjoy the miscellaneous like content though. It's just kind of like just
Hmm.
rapid fire,
Hmm.
reload, rapid fire, reload.
Yeah, I think we should do.
It's
I
good.
think like every other week or once a week. I think we should do probably every other week or at least once a month. We should do
Yeah, I'm
current
down.
events. Current events once a month.
Fun to talk
Come in
about,
here.
trendy, all that kind of
Yep.
stuff for sure, for sure.
Yep.
Well,
Definitely.
thank you everyone for tuning in, and this is another underground episode. Don't forget to check us out on like our social medias and shit. YouTube. That's probably our biggest priority. We're also on Buzzsprout, man. You can go ahead and check out all of our episodes on Buzzsprout. Part of Spotify as well. You can find us on Punk Farm, and you could also find our main page on there, especially on all podcast apps. But thank you everyone for tuning in again, and we will catch y'all next time. DMAT is out.
Yeah.